Today I'm going to talk to you about Regency costuming 101. So I was invited to my first ball and I didn't have anything to wear, which sounds very much out of a Jane Austen novel. And heroine, in search of adventure and ready for Mr. Tilney, will inevitably figure out a solution. So at this point in my costuming life, I wasn't skilled enough to make something myself. So I took a trip to Ross, which is basically kind of a big bargain store in the US. So you don't find consistent things, it's just random. So I went to the prom dress section, as one does when you're going to a ball. I was looking for something that had this waistline because I knew that if I could get this waistline, I could fake the rest. And that's what I did. So this is my first Regency dress. Now, comes with a lot of caveats. First of all, it is very plasticky. Like this looks great, but it also is 100% not accurate as far as fabrics. But you can see that if you add a couple things, it looks pretty decent. And after you add accessories like a necklace and you put your hair up, wear store-bought ballet flats, and you're good to go. I'll go over the two big things I did for this one, and that was the sleeve. I hand-stitched all of this actually, and I'll show you the very basic pattern. So it came like this dress, this bridesmaid's dress, where it had no sleeves. So I took the dress with me to a fabric store and I got the closest materials to, this has an outer kind of sheer layer and like a back layer that's just white. Again, they're both like polyester spandexy. So I did try to match the fabric because I knew that like it would need to at least look and feel similarly to kind of mix together. This is the most basic thing I did. You don't have to do this because this could really still pass if you have like a wrap or a shawl or something. But I got a very basic, reliable cap sleeve pattern. I made two of these, two cut for the sheer layer and two cut for the backing. After I layered those two fabrics together and I set them near this, I noticed that they were a little bit too bright, too white after I washed them. So I did a very minor tea dyeing, and I actually, for this one specifically because it's white, I did make sure that I tested the fabric strips a bunch of times in the tea dyeing, which is something that I'm terrible at doing normally. And this has actually been great. Like this dress has gotten a ton of mileage. No one noticed anything, and yes, like the back is not period. Like there's so much about this that's not period. But I just attached these sleeves, like I sewed down, and it was a little stretchy, so it had a little give to get into these corners of this spaghetti strap scenario. And I gave myself a little extra fabric too to be able to gather it, so it had a little bit of that period little puff. It blended in a dark dance floor because a lot of the balls I go to are not actually like brightly lit. Like they have some dim kind of candlelight looking ambiance to them. And it's great for getting a dress that is not period. No one's gonna notice. The other thing I did was I added ribbon to this part. Originally, there were sequins here, which technically actually are Regency accurate, but I didn't really like the vibe of just like a strand of sequins around me. They weren't really used that way in the Regency era. They were more just like embellishments. So you can literally just get any kind of ribbon, and like this had a base of just like some basic gold trim around it, which I've made my ribbon usually be smaller to go between. You can even make it so that you can swap it out to match whatever dress or accessories you're going for that night. Like if you're going for like a naval theme and you want navy to match your partner, or it's a spring Sense and Sensibility kind of ball and you just want it to like match your accessories, that would be a way to do it. Like I could wear this under this potentially, and like maybe I'd add some ribbon detail. So that's all I did to this dress for my first ever ball. I assume here I will put all the wonderful photos of the times that I've worn this dress, from the first time when we went to Williamsburg and it looked bomb and very period appropriate in that Williamsburg garden. Great, enough photos. Okay. This is a bridesmaid's dress. I'm sure many people have these. If you have a choice, you can also try to make that like a dress that you'd use for other things, aka look for this empire cut thing. I'll be honest, I feel like Regency is the easiest one to go from store to historical event, just because this waistline is around and it's standard and doesn't look out of place compared to like if you were doing other eras like Victorian, earlier 1700s, even Tudor. Like those things were just have not translated. And I also think part of it, what Regency is really doing is stealing from the Grecian kind of look if you look at all their fashion plates, there's just like this draping, which is another reason why, like when I saw this and when I saw this, it has really basic draping on it. And I'm like, that's actually perfect for fashion plates of that time. Like they were all into this draping and like looking like they walked out of like a Greek drama. So for this one, I would probably do the same thing. I mean, this dress is super long because I'm a short person. So I would probably take the excess at the bottom and see what I could do with it here. But I'd also look at fashion plates. Like what I've learned between this one and this, and why I'm taking my time with this one, is that fashion plates are super helpful with figuring out what to do to not only accessorize, but like to make a look that makes sense for the period. This is very iconic. I feel like this is fine. And I added a couple things like the ribbon and the sleeves that I knew were gonna match the silhouette, match some of the things. But for this one, I would probably do a little bit more. Like I think about like, do I want to stylize the sleeves a little bit more? Like they do have some really cool things where they have like contrasting fabrics on a dress. A lot of their dresses are not just like a one color and it's it. There's really cool patterns, really cool layering. So this is a thing that like you can have options with, and it's all about playing around with, but you can also 100% play it safe like I did and just pop on some sleeves and some ribbon. It's really funny because I really appreciate so much more of the conversations about ribbon in Jane Austen's works, because ribbon came in clutch to make this look really cool. Then I also used the rest of the ribbon in my hair a couple times when I wore this dress. So it was a cute little like nod of like, it's matching, it's cute, it's a look. So yeah, this is definitely a thing that like has potential. You can start with something like this and go from there. In future videos, I do want to go over like making like little chemisettes and like little overvests and overdresses, but we're just going over the basics today. I did say at the beginning that I was going to talk about what costs the most of these three things. It's this. This costs the most of these three things that I'm wearing. Like what I'm wearing here combined, it probably costs a little bit more than this, but it definitely costs less than this bridesmaid's dress, which bridesmaids' dress are overpriced. They're typically very poorly made and with really shitty materials. I'd say it's about the same quality material as this Ross dress that I have. I'm gonna say this was probably maybe like $20 or less. There's not much at Ross that I see being much more. If that, and if we also add in the cost of fabric for the sleeves, I think I looked in the remnants first to see if anything matched. Because I really didn't need a lot of fabric, right? So if you want for safety to get a yard, just in case you do want to add stuff to the back or anything, that's fine. A yard will do you well, because if you want to make the sleeve just a little basic cap sleeve, you don't need a ton. This, I will say the only thing on me right now that costs the most probably is the silk from my beret, but that's a different story, is this fabric actually. I got this Clueless plaid tartan from Spoonflower. So I had to get this printed, and that's actually what cost me the most. I only used 2 yards and I made a ton of accessories, which I'll go into later at a different date. But this cost me the most. Per the yard, this alone was more expensive than this dress because it did need to be custom printed and shipped, right? This, it's questionable in cost because this black dress is actually a sheet. So at some point I'll go into all the budgetary ways of making your own dress, but definitely like keep that in mind that like I really legitimately used an old sheet to make a really cool dress with like cute little sleeves and all the things, and then spent more money on the accessories because I also think that's a way that you can think about it too. When I'll go into more detail in like a future video about like how I like made a basic dress, and then I spent more money on the accessories for a long time before buying or making an actual accurate dress, because it was just a better investment of my time and money. But those are the basics. That's how you can legit find a store-bought dress and make it look Regency, and I hope that's helpful. Thank you for joining today. Please like and subscribe, as they all say, because I guess this is the hustle we're doing now.